Hi everyone, it's Paul here again. I hope you've all had a good time with the National Hunt racing this winter. It is now just coming up to 8 o'clock on Sunday, the 8th of March, which can mean only one thing. The Cheltenham Festival is now less than 48 hours away for the 2020 festival, and it looks like not even coronavirus can stop us this year. So it's been a long time coming. It's the best week of the year, and let's see how we get on this year. As always, day one, we start with the 130, which is the Supreme Novice Chase over 2 miles. And it is obviously a Group 1. This year is really, really difficult. There's some proven horses and some which are going to have to improve, but by all accounts that they have. So we are going to start with the talking horse of the last few weeks, which is Shishkin for Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville. Headed up the market for this for a long, long time. Fell on Hurdle's debut when cruising. Won two races, which he should have won, to be fair, pretty easily since then. But all the rumours in the last 4 to 6 weeks are this horse has come on again. Absolutely no end. Nicky Henderson has a cracking record in the race. Obviously won it with the likes of Altior, and he's had other horses who have run really well in it in the past, even the likes of Sprinter Sacra. He knows how to get him pretty much ready for this race. And I think Shishkin is going to be bang there, to be honest. I think it's got a future chaser written all over it. But I definitely think Shishkin will be quite close there. Interestingly enough, being challenged now in the market by horses, Mrs. Humphrey's other horse, so in the same colours, and that is Asterian Phalange for Willie Mullins and Paul Townend. And now this is the selection for me. As said, runs in the same colours of the favourite, unbeaten in his career in England. But for me, that latest Group 1 success at the Winter Festival at Leopardstown, it really, really stands out. What I loved that day was not just the turn of foot to get to the lead, but the way he carried on powering onto the line. And if I've actually had a look at the times, that was a really, really good time, that. And for one with limited experience, I suppose you'd say, over obstacles, it was really taken, and it was the way this horse travelled through the race. Only slight negative is, watching the replays, it does have a tendency to jump right, and obviously Cheltenham's a left-handed track. So I would like to see this one put away on the inside rail, and then turning in, especially on soft ground, maybe come across to this stand side rail. It'll be interesting to see how Paul Townend rides and what Willie's instructions are. But this is a very classy horse, and this is definitely the pick for me. Abracadabra, what a horse this is. Gordon Elliott trains, Davy Russell rides, came fourth in last year's champion bumper. For me, was ridden a bit too close to the pace and was just charged out of it in the last furlong or so. But done nothing wrong over hurdles. In fact, his only defeat was a 1.5 length second to the unbeaten Envoy Allen, however you want to pronounce it. So his form is absolutely rock solid. My only concern I've got with this race is he's now become an extreme hold-up horse, held up right towards the back of the field and coming through late. That can sometimes prove to be very, very difficult to do in a Supreme Novice hurdle. With a Supreme Novice, I don't think you necessarily need to go from the front unless you're a special horse like a Vator or a Forheen or something like that. But it does help, I think, to be more closer to the pace. But saying that, this horse has got bags of class, and it will be running on when others have cried enough. Best of the English ones, Fiddler on the Roof, Colin Tizard, Robbie Power, won the Tolworth in heavy ground latest, so loves the soft ground. Did it well that day, but did get a very, very easy lead. I don't think he's going to get it here. There's a lot of outsiders, so I think ones will charge at him for here. And overall, the form is just shy. If you were getting like a top 5, top 6, like some bookies are doing, I can see him running into the top 5 or 6, but he's likely to come up a bit short. Also interesting, he's held on back form by Edwardstone. Now that Edwardstone is interesting at 14 to 1. Obviously beaten Fiddler on the Roof. I was at Aintree when it won in December on Beecher Chase Day. Got the better of a horse who I backed that day and tipped up on the WhatsApp group, which was Harry Senior. Harry Senior took it up away from home and was just run down. But obviously Harry Senior's come out since and run really, really well. winning at Chepstow, running well in another one. Again, though, extreme hold-up horse. And I think Edwardstone's just got a bit of pace about him, so I can see him running on, but possibly not staying on. Chantry House, Henderson's other horse, Barry Geraghty riding in the McManus colours. Unbeaten under rules, including a course and distance win. But that form is largely untested, to be honest with you. More needed, but Nicky Henderson knows how to deliver them on a day. So that is the dark horse, that one. I'm a man of form rather than potential improvement. So the form isn't there, but I can see him improving and possibly having a hand. 1, 2, 3 then for the Supreme Novice Hurdle. Asterion Phalange from Shishkin and Abracadabra. Moving on now to the 210, which is the Arkle Novice Chase, Grade 1 over 2 mile. Really, really competitive this year. And I don't think there's necessarily, for me, a superstar amongst them. I didn't think there was last year, and it kind of threw it up when Duke de Janvier won a bit out of turn, really, and he's done nothing since. Notebook is the favourite, and understandably so, because 4 from 4 over Chasers, and has already beaten the likes of Cashback and Fakir Dudery, both of whom re-opposed today. I think you can actually upgrade his latest half-length win from Cashback, because got very, very buzzed up at the start and charged off like a lunatic, eventually settled and then battled on well. While that was a good trait to have, and on the balance you can upgrade it, that is a worry on this huge stage that is the festival, with all the prelims, and it's the biggest occasion this horse has faced at a foreign country. Will it get really buzzed up? If so, it could take a lot to get this one home. Fakir Dudery is reopposed here. Joseph O'Brien, Mark Walsh taking the ride. Obviously came 4th in last year's Supreme Novice. Decent piece of form. 2 for 3 over fences. But as I said, was held by Notebook with no obvious excuses, to be honest with you. So he'll run a good race, but I'm struggling to see him turn with Notebook. Cashback, I can see turning with Notebook, though. Willie Mullins trained. Paul Townend rides. Obviously, was a close second to Notebook last time. One issue I've got is this one's made a lot of mistakes on all chase starts, but is clearly improving. Now, if Notebook does get buzzed up a bit by the prelims, what I can actually see is this horse improving past Notebook, because there's not much between them, to be honest with you. Brewing Up a Storm is the one who I actually fancy for this. It's Ollie Murphy with Richard Johnson taking the ride. 2 for 2 over fences. This was a very, very classy hurdler. 5th in the Ballymore last year. Fell the time before over the course and distance of the Ballymore when likely to win. What I like about this one, though, definitely goes best fresh and has now been off for 114 days. Only had 2 chase starts, so that is a massive concern, I suppose. But one thing I would say is it's got bags of stamina, can lay up, and it's the type it will be staying on late in the day for certain if his jumping holds. And I think it will. It's been very well schooled. You can't have a better jockey on it than Richard Johnson. And with the other ones, probably likely win-only prices. Brewing Up a Storm at around 8 to 1, 7 to 1. Should be a very, very solid each-way bet. He was probably the best of these on paper, along with Fakir Dudery over hurdles, but was always the one who was likely to come on as a chaser. I would have liked him to have had another run. It hasn't happened, but I'm going to stick with Richard Johnson on this one. 1, 2, 3 then for the 210, the Arkle Novice Chase, Brewing Up a Storm from Cashback and Notebook. Which leads us on to the 250, which is the Ultima Handicap Chase. It's a Grade 3 over 3 mile 1. Always really hard, this, really competitive. Vindication is the top weight and the favourite for Kim Bailey and David Bass. 5th in the JLT last year, as you'll hear me say a lot over the next 4 days. The JLT form I have never seen, to be honest with you, a piece of form like the JLT last year stack up. It's unbelievable how well that form is stacking up. His one run this year, it won the Sodexo Gold Cup at Ascot off 11 stone, which was a really, really good run. You can't knock it. However, for me, that form hasn't been fully backed up yet. It beat the likes of Regal Encore and others that day who haven't really gone on and done much, and is up a further £12 here. So it will take a huge effort to basically suddenly win this, I think, off top weight. I'm not saying he can't go on. Also, while the fifth in JLT was good, he was pretty much unbeaten going into that. And for me, I'm not 100% sure he came up the hill, and I wonder if he does prefer a flat track. Kilda starts. Those who follow the WhatsApp service will know I tipped this one up. Massively fancied at Aintree last year, and it won at 8-1. Jumped really well, won really well. Everything about it was good. Has got decent form this year, but my concern is all form is on good ground. All form is on good ground. It's likely to be soft, heavy in places. I'm just wondering. He goes on soft, but you have to have everything you want realistically at the festival, don't you? And I just wonder if it'll be a bit soft. Mr. Malarkey bounced back to form out of absolutely nowhere latest for Colin Tizard. Didn't see it coming. Has got to back that up now, and that has been its problem in the past. It doesn't string two good runs together. Now, those I just mentioned are the worthy mentions. Now we get to the top three, starting with the conditional for David Bridgewater. Course and distance winner. Then came second in what was the Hennessy, now the Ladbroke Trophy. Okay, the winner, Darasha Counter, hasn't exactly franked the form, and the Hennessy form has fallen away a bit. But he then went on to the classic chase over 3 mile 5 at Warwick, and turning in, I thought he looked like the most likely winner, but he clearly didn't get home in heavy ground over 3 mile 5. 3 mile 1 here with the hill. Yeah, it's better than 3 mile 5, and I can see him running a great race. He's got a clear place chance at the least. I just still wonder if his stamina will be slightly stretched coming to the last. The one I nearly fell down on here was actually the 33-1, one of the outsiders, and that is Atlanta Ablaze. Tom O'Brien taking the ride for Henry Daly. He was going really, really well, getting pushed, but staying on well when he fell 2 out in the National Hunt Chase last year. Has won a Mers Chase and did so on a comeback, as it goes best fresh. And then bombed the next time at Aintree when I was there. There was clearly something wrong. And what it was that day, he had a problem with his soft palate. Had wind surgery since. Has been kept fresh. And as I just said, it goes best fresh, this one. Gets in off 10 stone 12, which is thrown in. And I think, well, actually, I'm looking here. Coral at the moment have this one at 40-1. There is worse each way bets. And if this wind surgery's worked, I think this one's going to go really, really close. But for the win, I am actually going for Discorama for Paul Nolan with Brian Cooper taking the ride. Second in the National Hunt Chase last year. Second in the Martin Pipe to Blow by Blow the year before. Clearly loves it around Cheltenham. Clearly stays. Jumps really well. Has got in off 11 stone 1, which I really like. He's another one. Had a wind operation. Goes best fresh and has had a few months off. And he'll be staying on at least when others have cried enough. And bar accidents, you know he'll be staying on all the way to the line. And I think Discorama is just about the percentage call. 1, 2, 3 for the Ultima Handicap. Discorama from Atlanta Ablaze and the conditional. Which brings us on to the big race of day one, which is the 3:30, which is the champion hurdle. It is the grade 1. It's over 2 miles. But I've got to be honest, this is very, very far from a vintage renewal of this one. Obviously, the horse that won it last year sadly passed away at the start of this season, which was a great shame. You've got a horse that good that won it in a record time. Would have been great to see it defend. Bouvardeur also got injured earlier this season. That one's out. We've lost through just Father Time in the end, the likes of My 10 to yours. And there's no real superstar that stepped up. The likely one who stepped up is the favourite, which is Epatante for Nicky Henderson and Barry Geraghty. But I do have concerns for this horse. 2 for 2 this year, can't knock that, including a win in the Christmas hurdle, which was great. My concern is the only career loss in the UK was when she was down the field in the Dawn Run Novices Hurdle last year. Now, there was statements coming out, because it came like 8th or 9th at 15-8, beating a mile out, that there was stories coming out that he didn't handle the course. Now, okay, it's another year older, so maybe it's learning to settle a bit better, knows the game over here a bit better, but that would be a concern if that is true. Now, does get a MERS allowance here, and the chance is clear, but I've got that nagging course problem, and the fact that she was winning the likes of the Christmas hurdle so well, and at Newbury so well, I'm wondering if this is more of a speed horse than a stamina horse. So, in an open year, I'm actually going to take her on. Pentland Hills obviously jumps out in one of Henderson's many runners. Nico de Boinville take the ride, won the Triumph last year, then won on to Aintree and won again. But for me, hasn't been getting home this season and has had a bit of a breathing procedure, but will need that to work, and has got a hood on. Now, if you look at a record over the last 10 years of horses who have first-time hoods, especially over hurdles in graded races, the win percentage first time out is something ridiculous, like 6%. It doesn't necessarily have the desired effect. But this is a very, very classy horse. So I do think in a substandard year, it will hit the frame. Sharjah for Willie Mullins is capable, but for me, ideally wants good ground, and I don't think he's going to get it here. Silver Streak placed last year and could have a place possibility again. And Ballyandy and Super Sunday are both in here. These are all admirable horses who have either won, like Ballyandy's won a champion bumper. Super Sunday has run many great races at the festival, but they're not getting any younger. And I just think, even though it's substandard, I think you're looking at a place at best. One who I think is overpriced for a place is Call Me Lord, Nicky Henderson's third string, Sean Bowen taking the ride. He is in and out, but is a course and distance winner this season when it won the International. And this one, if it's on a going day, is definitely capable of a big run. And I think 33 to 1 on Call Me Lord is a little bit tempting for an each way play. But for the win, I'm going for the Willie Mullins supplemented Silos Emery, Paul Townend again taking the ride. As I said, they've spent 25,000 quid supplementing this after a really, really impressive Gowran trial winner latest. It was really impressive, travelled well, hit the front, turn of foot, stayed really well, got all the attributes that you need for a champion hurdle horse. It could be one of those fate stories because the run before that at Leopardstown fell at the first, and then they shoved it back over hurdles and he did that performance. Saying that, even in the chase runs before then, very, very talented in group races, was a talented hurdler anyway, seems to be improving this season. And at around 7 to 1, it's a great each way bet. And I just think this horse, if one horse has got that touch of class, it's between Epatante and Silos Emery. But I think Silos Emery is the type that will relish this type of test. 1, 2, 3 then. For the champion hurdle, Silos Emery from Pentland Hills and Call Me Lord. Next page, going now to the 4:10, which is such a good race, which is the David Nicholson MERS hurdle. Grade 1 again, 2 mile 4. Let's go to the honourable mentions first. Roxana won this race last year, but for me has been nowhere near the same form since, and that's a concern. Well, one of my old favourite Lady Buttons, people who follow the WhatsApp service will know, twice have tipped it up this year, twice it's won. Came fourth in this last year, but it was a lucky fourth because the horse Benny Desdieux, who we'll get onto soon, fell, would have finished a bit further away. It was a good run, but two problems I've got with this. One, all of the best form is definitely on a flat track. And two, if you actually look at it, the level of form drops by £6 or £7 after February with this horse. Have a look at it yourself. Even though she run well in this last year, run well to come second in the Red Drum Chase at Aintree, it does drop off a bit, and I think winter is her time of year. But that then brings us on to the top three, and the obvious two to start with is Benny Desdieux and Honeysuckle. Honeysuckle, Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore. Obviously, she's unbeaten throughout her entire career, very classy. And I arguably think this trip is more to her liking than the 2 miles she won at last time. My issue I've got is here, she does still make mistakes in the race. She's clearly got an engine, but she makes mistakes. She's also very, very keen through her races. And being honest, she's never come across a track quite like Cheltenham before. So I think for this horse, the preliminaries are the key. If she gets herself het up, if she starts to, race a bit with a choke out, make a few mistakes, I can see her getting up because she's class. I can see her getting up the hill, but I can see others finishing better. Stormy Island came second in this last year to Roxana, but where Roxana's dropped off this year, look at the form of Roxana dropping off. Stormy Island has actually stepped up, 3 for 3 this year, and I think Stormy Island has actually improved. So I can see Stormy Island improving past Roxana. But for the win, it's all about Benny Dejieux for me. Won this 2 years ago, would have won it by a distance last year. I've watched the replay, I can't believe it. I think it would have won by 7 or 8 lengths easy last year. He's down, seemingly still improving. Everything it's done this year has been fantastic. Stays 3 miles, so the trip is no problem. It's clearly the one to beat. So for the 1, 2, 3, it actually includes here a Willie Mullins forecast, actually, which would pay quite nice taking Honeysuckle out of it. But 1, 2, 3, Benny Dejieux from Stormy Island and Honeysuckle. The 450 is now been renamed the Northern Trust Novices Handicap Chase. Wow, that's a mouthful. Listed chase over 2 mile 4. Always a really, really tough race, this. I know we won it last year, but this is a very tough race to call. Imperial Aura has been the favourite for a long time for Kim Bailey and David Bass. Understandable. Placed twice at the course. Definitely improving. Is a banker for a good run. But my worry is on his 2 places at the course. Traded, looking at on the Betfair odds, 1.6 and 1.7 in running. But then ultimately beaten about 4 lengths. So I'm still not convinced. He gets up the hill but doesn't fly up the hill. So he might have improved, and if that's the case, clear favourites chance. But fact is we don't know. 4 to 1. I think he's a good price for a good run, but not for me in terms of a win bet. Galvin is in here for Gordon Elliott and Davy Russell. 6 in the Ballymore last year. Easily beaten on all chase starts though so far. So again for me, 5 to 1 is too short. Unless the wizard that is Gordon Elliott has been improving and working your magic with it, which we don't know. But 5 to 1 I still think is too short. Champagne Court's in here. This horse jumps for fun. We're in for some spectacular jumps from this one, I think. I think he's in on a nice mark. But for me, he's run 2 or 3 times at this course and has been below form each time. I think he's better jumping and dominating on a flat track, and he's not going to get that here. And the same can be said for Beakstown for the Skeltons as well. Generally consistent until he gets to this course. Never really put it all together here. The one who I think is overpriced at 25 to 1 is the horse ridden by Connor Schumark here, and that is Night in Dubai. Again, an absolutely outstanding jumper of a fence as a whole. Brilliant jumper, especially 2 starts ago at Doncaster. Jumped for fun, and that won him the race. Was outclassed, being honest, in a grade 2, latest behind Sam Brown. Now, before he got injured in the last race, that Sam Brown was really fancied for a lot of festival horses, including the likes of the RSA. I think he'll find this a lot easier. And I think, yeah, it's actually 25 to 1 now, is far too big on Night in Dubai. It might be proven he's better in smaller fields, but with jumping like this, if it holds up, I think he's going to run a great race. So I'll definitely be at least having an each way saver on it. But for the win, I'm going for Hold the Note, Mick Shannon, and Jonathan Burke taking the ride. Same colours as Mr. Whitaker, who people will remember I tipped up to win in this race a few years back. He's definitely improving this horse, slowly but surely, a bit like Mr. Whitaker did. Now, his second last time out was to a horse called 2 for Gold, and that 2 for Gold has totally franked that form by coming second, albeit a distance. It was still second in a Reynoldstown, and that takes some doing. So bear in mind, this is obviously a lower class than a Reynoldstown. This is definitely his trip 2.5 mile. He's coming along with it slowly. He's 9 to 1 now, so that is a great each way bet, especially in races paying top 5. And I just think on the balance, Hold the Note is the type of horse that is made for this type of race. 1, 2, 3 then for the 450, the Northern Trust Novices Handicap Chase, Hold the Note from Night in Dubai and Imperial Aura. which then brings us on to the finale, the last race of day one, which is the 5:30, which is the National Hunt Chase. It's a grade 2 for amateur riders. Well, I was going to say over 4 miles. It's 3 miles 6 now. Obviously, after only a handful of horses finished last year and all the controversy with that and the bans, they thought shortening it 2 furlongs is going to make a big difference. Personally, I think it's just ridiculous, but there you go. I'm all about, and I know it's not shooting the lights out, I'm all about carefully selected. I've got it anti-post. People who follow the WhatsApp service will know I tipped it up anti-post in October at around 14 to 1. And obviously now at around 2 to 1, we're sitting quite pretty. What I liked about this is, even when the decks came out, this was his only declaration. He had to win last time out at Naas pretty much to get in, which he did. Albeit he made hard work, but this has been his target since the summer. Watch the stable tours, speak to the people in the yard. This has been his target. People are saying he hasn't jumped particularly well the last few. It's true, but for me, it's because it's when they quicken up, he made a few mistakes, but he still outstayed them. They'll go a lot slower in this National Hunt Chase. I think he'll jump a lot better. He is made for this trip, and he's got a very similar breeding and profile to Back in Focus, who won this for the yard. Patrick Mullen's taking the ride. I'm struggling to see it get beat. Raven Hill is next in here for Gordon Elliott, Jamie Codd. Fell on his latest start, but all previous runs indicated that he needed an extreme trip. Travelled well, got outpaced, stayed on at the end, but fell last time out, possibly not the best start into this. And even on breeding, it looks like he wants an extreme trip, but I can't be certain. Forza Milan is interesting in this because Derek O'Connor is taking the ride for the Nash stable. He is held by Carefully Selected on the last run. He raced Prominence. Carefully Selected was in behind, made some mistakes, but he was still outgunned by him. And again, stamina has to be taken purely on trust. If you want to have a punt at something big, and one thing put me off, it nearly made the frame for me here. Le Mans for Pippin for Colin Tizard, Will Biddick taking the ride. He has the perfect profile for this race. A staying horse who jumps well and travels well. But he's been off for 111 days. And I've looked back over all of his career. And on races where he's had a long break, first time out, or he's come back from an injury or whatever he's had, he's got a terrible record when fresh. So that is what is putting me off on this. The Hollow Ginge, again, big price. Couldn't see it running a great race. Has a chance on his best, but a very in and out performer. You do not know what you're going to get with him. Springfield Fox has come on really well, taking winner 10 lengths and 12 lengths of his last 2 runs at Exeter and Chepstow. And he would have a chance if he improves again. He's found improvement in the last 2 run-ins, so there's no reason why he can't. But saying that, both of those, he's had the race run to suit. No one's gone on. He's jumped off in the front. And again, there's going to be a lot of pace on here. And I just wonder if it's a little bit too much for him. Lord Domini, Richard Hobson, Sam Whaley-Cohen. Very, very interesting. Ultra consistent. He's won the Tommy Whittle and over 3 mile in heavy at Haydock, and the last fling chase over 3 mile 4 at Haydock, and came second in a Grand National trial over 3 mile 4 at Haydock, which proves one thing: if you stay around Haydock on that, you'll stay anywhere. He'll stay the trip. He likes soft ground. He's got a huge chance. He seems, though, if something's got a bit of class, which I think Carefully Selected has, something with a bit of class might just nail him. But he seems destined for a good run, put it that way. You do get big price horses running big races here. And the horse I've got a sneaky feeling for is Ocean Cove for Fergal O'Brien. Lisa O'Neill taking the ride. Came second to Springfield Fox on the latest, albeit beaten 11 lengths. But 2 things is getting me on this. One, he was giving him £8. That's getting on for 3/4 of a stone. So that's quite a lot of weight. You'd expect that to turn the lengths by about 4 or 5 lengths, which would put him within 6 lengths of Springfield Fox. But also that day, he was held up in last. Now, look at the racing post. Every horse who was who was held up that day, pretty much pulled up or did nothing. This one stayed on for second, so he's clearly got something about him. He'll clearly stay as well. I don't think he'll be given his extreme hold-up ride this time, but if he is, hold-up horses do well in this. Ocean Cove is 40 to 1, and I think that's too big a price. But for me, it's all about Carefully Selected. He's in all my multiples, etc. And I think he's going to end the day on a good note for Willie Mullins, like how I'm hoping he's going to start as well. 1, 2, 3 in this race, carefully selected from Lord Mini and Ocean Cove. See you soon for day 2, guys. Take care.